Hi, Giselle. How are you? Welcome. All right. So,
I'm
Thank you,
great. I'm great.
Giselle.
I loved your conversation about lucid dreaming.
oh yeah, I bet you know a lot about that, actually. So-
Well, actually, my husband and my daughter are good about lucid dreaming. They can manipulate their dreams as well.
it's awesome. It's
I
an
have
amazing
gone to
feeling.
it is. I've gotten to the stage where I can be aware that I am asleep. I'm like, I think I'm asleep, but then I kind of
Yes.
still stick to the script.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I can
Same.
literally like change what I'm doing and go, and it's amazing. Anyway, so today
Yeah.
we're thrilled to welcome Gissele Taraba. Did I say that correctly? Taraba?
Yes, Taraba.
Ah, I said it perfect. All right, great.
Perfect.
So she's a dynamic force, dual masters in epidemiology and social work, devoted mother, guiding light in the realm of mindfulness and self compassion. She's a co owner of the Maitri Centre for Love and Compassion and the host of the Love and Compassion with Gisele podcast. And let me tell you, she is transforming lives. She's also the author of the groundbreaking book, Reimagining Work, which challenges us to redefine our relationship with work. So thank you so much, Gisele, for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Giselle.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So, first
Aw.
question we always have to ask is, can you tell us something, anything that if our audience heard your name, they went on Google and said, who is this Gisele Taraba? What is something that
Yes.
they could not find out about you?
One of the things is that I'm a left-handed mirror writer. So when I was a kid, I used to write backwards. They had a hard time teaching me to write the
What?
other way, and I actually had to learn. And so it
That's
was, and I
interesting.
can still read it too. I can still read it.
So you
And
can you
the
write backwards with your left hand.
yes,
A
so I
mirror.
can
You write
write,
a mirror version with your left
yes.
hand.
So if you put a
What?
mirror up, you would have seen it the flip. And so, but so I grew up in Peru,
Okay.
and in a I guess we had a
Nice.
school that was full of nuns, and the nuns thought I was possessed. I did that, so my parents had to take me to a psychologist.
So they
Psychologist was
thought you were
like, "There's something
possessed,
wrong
huh?
with this kid." Yeah, but
It's a talent.
and so I had to learn to write on the flip, but I can still do it. Yeah.
That's
That's
amazing.
really neat.
Wow.
That's
That's a
quite a
really
talent.
cool thing.
That feels like a talent or a gift or
I
something.
know.
You could probably do code.
It's really a gift, but
Do
sure.
code to your friends and just start writing stuff. And, write
But
notes in
I
I
mean,
used to
school.
do that, yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
Catholic nun
Sometimes they
way.
had a hard time reading it, right? Like they had a hard time reading it. They
Wow.
had to put a
They couldn't
mirror for
understand.
them to read it.
Yeah, I
That's
can see
funny.
it. All right,
That's really cool.
I was reading about how self love and self compassion helped you overcome some pretty tough stuff in your life, like anxiety, panic attacks, even some childhood trauma. Can you share a little more about that and how it's kind of shaped the way you teach mindfulness and self compassion?
Yeah, thank you very much. So growing up, both my parents had experienced different levels of childhood adversity. My mom had a really horrible childhood. And so she was a traumatized person parenting children. And so what you do is you actually, sometimes when a person is traumatized, they will teach their kids the survival tools of people that are
Mm,
traumatized.
Mm.
mm.
And so growing up, I didn't know that it wasn't normal not to trust and to be full of anxiety and be full of negative thinking and always worry that the other shoe was going to fall. And so I had all of
Yeah.
these things and they impacted all these different areas of my life. And in fact, one of my dreams really was to go into child welfare to help people like my mom and her mom.
Mm.
But the truth of the matter is, I was suffering. I didn't realize
Mm.
how closed off I had been. I was suffering from anxiety, started to develop panic attacks, which I didn't know what they were. So the first time I thought I was having a heart attack, and that's
Oh,
pretty scary when you end up in
that
the
is
hospital and
scary.
somebody says, "Do you have anxiety?" And I'm like, "What's that?" I didn't even know what that was because my
That's
parents
it.
did
I
not
had
even believe in like sort of mental health stuff.
I have
Because
heart
they're
issues too, and then
traditionalist
that
Latino
was one
parents.
thing. I have heart issues too, and one of the things they asked me, first things they asked me, are you having a panic attack? Are you having anxiety attack? Because they say the symptoms are so similar. Yeah,
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sorry. Go
And so
ahead.
my parents didn't really talk about mental health because they're Latinos. You didn't tell people your business. You didn't go to therapy. You didn't do all these things.
Mm.
And so I did start obviously going to therapy when I realized I needed to change.
Mm.
And I found, actually, I started by reprogramming my brain. All of the
Mm.
negative messaging that I had received as a child, and it wasn't on purpose. My parents did the best they could. They
Mhm.
really did.
Right.
Of course. Mhm.
You
Right.
know, as Louise
Right.
Hay says, with the understanding, knowledge, and awareness that they had, right? They love the best, but you can't give to others what you don't have for. And so I had to reprogram my brain to think positively.
Mm.
So I would listen to people like Louise Hay on loop. Like she would always tell you,
Oh,
you know, like, yeah, so everything's going to be okay. You know, the world is a safe place. And then
yes.
over time,
Yes.
I realized I had to do it for myself because as long as I found peace outside of myself, like if I needed reassurance from Louise or from my husband or someone else, I was still getting it externally. And if it
Mm.
wasn't there, I couldn't regulate.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
that's how I
See
found
that.
meditation and mindfulness. And that was really, really helpful. It has helped me to no end. I mean, I didn't realize and that you could actually find the space between thoughts.
Hmm.
You could have, so you know how
Wow.
thoughts come so fast? When you're
Yes.
able to get to the point where there's actually a space between thoughts, and that is super powerful. And I just
Wow.
got to tell you, when I first started meditating, it felt gritty, it felt gross. I couldn't even do 5 minutes.
Really?
But by showing
Wow.
up and showing up and showing up for myself, making that choice every single day, on the
Consistent.
nth day, something happens. I don't know
Mm.
how it happens. It's like on the nth day, it's like you working out, right? At
Uh-huh.
first, it's like kind of a pain, and then later on, you're like, okay, I'm in stride.
Interesting. Because I
And
mean,
so, yeah,
Interesting.
just to jump in real quick. So my wife is really big on the mindfulness and the meditation, and she keeps
Nice.
trying to get me to do it and telling me that, oh, it will help you so much and help me get centered, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it would. But if I'm being honest, every time I've tried it, I'm like, that's just not for me. It's just it's kind of silly to me. And I'm just being honest. This is my honest
Yeah.
feelings.
Because it's foreign and awkward.
Right.
That's why, dude.
Yeah. And so,
Different. It's
but
different to you.
but I mean, it's sort of like you said. I guess maybe I need a few times to kind of turn on that switch or something. I don't know.
and it
Exactly.
doesn't. So people have this belief that mindfulness meditation has to be you sitting on a cushion and sitting and doing that. But many times we are actually mindfully doing things. If you do something you love,
Mhm.
you are fully in the present moment. You are
That's true.
mindfully do. So when people
That's a
do
good example.
art,
Mhm.
they are
True.
practicing mindfulness. When
Okay.
you're doing something you truly love, when you're in the zone, when you're doing something, so it doesn't always have to be like people think it has to be hard work. It's not.
Mm.
The
It's
hard
not.
work is meeting yourself. It's that's
Yeah.
really, and so that was the thing. So in the process of me doing mindfulness and meditation, I met myself.
Okay.
And I met a lot of the limiting beliefs I had about myself.
Okay.
And so, you know, one of the things I love to talk about is manifesting, right? And everybody, like
Yeah.
all over TikTok, is mad people manifest. But the thing people don't talk about is when manifesting is easy for the things you don't have limiting beliefs about, right? So I could
Yes.
easily,
Yes.
see a white horse or, get something extra tickets. But when you have limiting beliefs about your abundance, about your health, about your relationship, manifesting can feel challenging because underneath there are some limiting beliefs. And then you will,
Yeah.
people say, oh, you just have to get into you got to live from the wish fulfilled, right? You have to believe you receive it, right? That you're
Right.
receiving it and live from that place. And then
So
you
you
will have it. And it's true. I have done it. That's very true.
so you're
But the
saying like
problem becomes,
go ahead. I'll let you
sorry, go
finish.
ahead.
I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
The problem becomes when you have limiting beliefs about stuff, and then you get yourself because you're like, well, all these people are doing it. Why isn't it working for me? What's wrong
For
with
me.
me?
Right.
And so for me, when I started to un- start to dig a little bit deeper as I was going into meditation and meeting myself,
Hmm.
I realized I had a lot of beliefs about my lack of self worth, about my lack of self love, about my worthiness in being able to live my dreams. And until I face those fears and until I face those beliefs, it wasn't going to change for me. I wasn't going to be able to do that manifestation for the big things that I had limiting beliefs about. And so it became about, how do I talk to myself every day? When I think about the thoughts I used to think about, I would have never said some of the things I said to myself that I would say to any of you guys.
Mm.
Right.
I would have
Yeah.
been like, you guys can do it. I believe in you. I love you guys. You guys are the best. Doesn't matter what happened. But to myself, I was
Why is that?
critical.
Out of
I was
curiosity, why is that?
Yeah.
Why
It's a
did
good
you not?
question. Yeah.
Because yeah, I would just
Yeah.
want so like I know I have people around me that struggle with that, with feeling positive, self worth, and I've always I
Negative
don't know,
self-talk.
yeah, but I don't know, I maybe I love myself, right? There was a long time ago where I realized that no, seriously, I realized that I do love myself and who I am. And I don't know, I never really struggled with self worth. I felt like I was worthy. And but the thing is, sometimes it's hard for me to understand where people are coming from when they don't feel it. So I'm curious, what was it for you? What made you feel that way? And then, where did you come out of that?
This is a fantastic question. So a lot of the times when you are raised with people that are very fearful, have trauma themselves,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know how to cope, they don't know how to emotionally regulate.
Mm-hmm.
They need you to be perfect so that they can regulate.
Okay.
So often when the parents tell you, stop it, don't cry, you need to put it together, what they're saying to you is, I need you to regulate yourself first so that I could be okay.
Mm.
Whereas it should be the other way. A parent regulates their own emotion first, and then they're like, okay, how can I hold space for your difficult feelings and teach you how to regulate? So, but
Okay.
what happens with young kids though is like when the parent doesn't realize that and they're traumatized, and then they're sometimes not able to offer you the same level of love or compassion or kindness or attention, kids
Yeah.
internalize it because they don't understand, oh, my mom had trauma, or,
Mm-hmm.
my
Yes.
mom does it, she's afraid.
Yes.
They don't realize that. So the
Yeah.
only thing they know is it must be me,
Yeah.
because that's the only thing,
Yeah.
because they're very self-focused.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like,
Self-centered.
it must be me.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That
true.
makes
So I
sense.
must not be worthy of love and compassion. I must not be worthy of attention. I must not be
Yeah.
worthy to receive. If, like, let's say if your parents were poor, you were thinking, oh, maybe I didn't get that bike because I wasn't worthy to receive, rather than if your parents aren't honest about their lack of abundance, right? And they want to keep you protected, but you didn't get that bike from Santa, right? I wasn't
Right.
worthy to receive. And
Interesting.
so you start to
I love
internalize
what you're
these messages
saying.
about your own worthiness.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, I love
And so
what you're
you start to
saying.
internalize these messages about yourself and about your own ability to fulfill your needs. And so a lot of the self-compassion, self-love work is, first of all, about self-soothing. Some people who were traumatized during childhood by their parents and so on and so
Mm-hmm.
forth
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to regulate their emotions. And in
Mm-hmm.
fact, we're right now in a pandemic of a lack of emotional regulation. That's why people cancel each
Yes.
other out, because they cannot deal with the difficult feelings of somebody saying something that might be triggering for them.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yes.
about us being able to hold space for ourselves and hold ourselves with kindness and love, and meeting our own needs first, and
First.
then being able to be curious about the other
Mm-hmm.
person, then being able to
Yeah.
go, okay, I'm going to lean in and try to
Mm-hmm.
understand this perspective.
That's fair.
But first, I have to deal with my own feelings of shame, guilt, all of that.
Yeah.
And so that's where people don't know how to do that. And so from then they internalize those feelings. And
Totally makes
so
sense.
I had to meet myself and meet those feelings, which sometimes felt super overwhelming and scary,
Yeah.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because you're like,
That's
am I even worthy to be alive?
Makes
And
sense.
Yes.
so it really is about, how can I care for this being right here? And one of the kind of the best things that I had to learn over time, and this took a while for me, although it doesn't have to take a while for people, is I'm worthy of love even if I don't do anything to earn it. I'm worthy of love
Yes.
just because I exist. I don't have
Yeah.
to have a successful podcast. I don't have to help save the world. I don't have to do anything. I am inherently worthy and lovable.
Yeah.
And so I really had to kind of sit with that and say, I don't have to earn my own love and compassion. If anybody's going to have to give it to me for free, it's me.
And
Right?
you,
Because I can't
and so
give
you
it
feel
to
that way.
myself.
So
How
you've
would I
grown into
expect
that.
others?
And that's how you feel
That's
now,
great.
is that you are worthy. Yep. So Rob, you had
Yeah.
a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I want to segue into your the Maitri Centre, into your organization,
Yeah.
because I love what you're sharing about your personal transformation and your journey. And I was wondering if you could give us some insight into the organization, what it's about, and how it supports individuals in their personal growth and transformation.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for asking that question. So basically, I started Maitri Centre because, well, number one, I hadn't seen another compassion center in Canada.
I've never heard of it.
And the other,
Anything like it?
most of them are in the US. Most of them are US. There's some in the UK. And so I was following a lot of the compassion work. I, at the time, was trying to introduce compassion into child welfare
Okay.
in terms of how things are done. How can we still lean in with people without judgment, without saying you're a bad parent, you're blah, blah, blah. Because I
Right.
noticed that the kids didn't. They wanted to love their parents regardless of how they had treated them. And
Yes.
some people in child welfare judge that as dumb when really they were just being unconditionally loving. But how could you
Yes.
do that safely, right?
All right.
And so I was
Right.
trying to incorporate into child welfare, not being very successful because there's a lot of resistance and there's a lot of duality in child welfare and systems that we currently have. It's like right or wrong, good, bad. And so I wanted to live in the gray. I wanted to be, okay, how can I still lean in, love, witness, and still, even when I'm uncomfortable, still be able to do that for you. And so, my husband and I, because he's been kind of wanting to do this for a while as well, kind of came together and said, okay, now or never. Because I was burning out at work. I'll be honest. I was completely burning out at work. There was lots of toxicity, dehumanizing approaches, lots of just it's a lot of stuff. And actually, one of my roles was director of HR, and I saw it firsthand. And I thought, why can't we just lean into one another and try to understand rather than why can't we just kind of change the way that we work? And so
Yes.
I left my organization to start this business. And so the podcast is kind of an offshoot of it.
Nice.
It is about having part of it is about like how self-love and self-compassion help us really live our best lives. But
Right.
there are other kind of conversations that I've had with people where we talk about leaning into each other. So, for example, I had an interview with a person who used to be a member of the KKK.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, not
Wow.
KKK. He was a white supremacist. Sorry, he was
So
he was into white
still.
supremacy.
Right.
Tomato, tomato.
Right.
Tomato, tomato.
Splitting hairs
I'm just
there.
like, so so he was a member of white supremacy in Canada, and
Wow.
had a kind of an experience with a Jewish therapist where he experienced compassion, unconditional compassion from a Jewish therapist that he saw, and the unconditional love of his children
Aw.
led him to understand that his ways were not the right ways. And so he now works to bring greater compassion into this kind of race relations.
Work.
And he speaks
Right.
about it from a person who was involved with white supremacy. I've had
Wow.
a conversation with a woman who chose to forgive the young people that killed her son
Oh,
because those kids
Wow.
were traumatized. And so these are
that takes a
I've
lot of
embedded
compassion.
stories
Hard. Yeah, that's hard.
about leaning into each other. But just so
Yeah.
that we're just clear, you can't lean in without leaning into yourself first. You got to meet your own
Yeah.
needs, put your own oxygen mask on, be loving and compassionate to yourself. And from that space, you can give people to their overflow, from your overflow to them.
Wow.
So the podcast is one thing that we offer for free, like it's available for people. I also do coaching, so one-on-one coaching for people, as does my husband. And so we offer coaching, and we also offer group things. I had to, in my journey of being a business person, an entrepreneur, in going back to that manifesting thing, for the first 2 years of my business, nothing was happening, like nothing. And so it was very hard for me because I was always an achiever. I'd been working since I was 13. As you said, I have multiple degrees. I'd managed millions of dollars in business in the not-for-profit world and in the public sector. And so you go from there to making nothing, like zero, not
No,
seeing
that is-
anything, and
Yep.
thinking to yourself. And there it is.
Challenging.
Yeah, you're like manifesting. And I'm like,
Humbling.
okay, I know what to do. I'm getting in the thing. I feel like a millionaire, right? And so And so I faced a dilemma. I faced a dilemma of, do I go back to work
Mhm.
or do I just stick it out? And what happens with these bills? And I will say that when you do have faith, the universe comes at like every single time
Yes.
the universe has come into place and has given us something for us to continue. But I think I
Yes.
still needed that security because I was afraid. I'm like, well, what if it doesn't come next month, right?
Mhm. My
And
wife is
so,
there.
but because the thing is, my husband never pushed me. But the reason why I'm raising this story is because it goes to my book, right?
Mhm.
I was telling him how afraid I was and how it wasn't working, and like I've been normally very successful, and now I'm not seeing anything. And
Right.
so he said to me, "Well, why don't you just go get a job then? If you're that worried, right?" He said, "Don't worry about it. It's going to work
Get a
out. It
job.
always does. But if you're that worried,
Yeah.
go get a job." And so, and the thought about going back into the workplace, it was
Inspired you.
actually just
Mhm.
not. And the reason being is because
Mm.
I don't feel the way that we work is natural.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
in alignment with who we
Mhm.
really are.
It's not.
It's
It's not.
not, it's not how we want to create,
Mm-mm.
right? A number of people are stuck in jobs that they are not, it's not their passion. When
Yep.
Right.
you do your passion, I think you were talking about this, Neil. When you are in your passion, it doesn't feel like work. You're
Yeah.
just doing, you're just being, it's in the joy. And
Fun.
so, yeah, the fun. And so I really took a look at what work looks like for
Right.
us and the
Right.
consciousness behind why we work the way that we do. And there's a big division between the old workplace and the new generation of young people who are really
Oh yeah.
focused on, and the older generation called them snowflakes and they don't want to work. But the truth of the matter is, the new generation
Yeah.
understand manifestation. They understand alignment. They understand vibration more. They want to try different things. Social media
Yeah.
is helping big time. They want to do passive income. And so there's this disconnect. And the big disconnect that I saw, even for myself, in terms of why we work the way that we do, also had to do with self love and self compassion, believe it
Mhm.
or not.
Mhm.
I always wondered if we feel we have to
We let
earn
people
our
run
kids,
out of us.
had
Yeah.
to earn the love of
Mhm.
our parents.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so what I decided to do was, I'm going to choose to trust, but I'm going to take this time to go on a journey of exploration of the workplace in my own journey. And I realized I had to change my relationship with how I perceive work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And really, that's what kind of led to my book, Reimagining
Reimagining
Work.
work.
What
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
it's
nice.
about. It
But,
really
but
is about changing our
Nice.
perspective and understanding that we're worthy to live our dreams.
so like just yesterday,
Absolutely.
I was playing volleyball with a good friend of mine, and he works in social work too, by the way. But he brought his daughter to play volleyball, and he was saying that his daughter wants to make the high school team. So I was like, okay, I'd be happy to work with her. Just bring her in on Tuesday nights. I help her
Aw.
learn. Plus, he gets to play with her,
Mm.
have fun. And then he said to me, right? So he says to me, well, I only brought her because this was my day off. Tuesday is my late day at work. And I said, so just change your day, right? And he
Yeah.
was like, well, what am
Right.
I going to tell him? I need to switch so I can play volleyball with my daughter. And he laughed, right? And I looked at him, I was like, yes, that's exactly what you say. You right? Right? I
Yeah.
Mhm.
mean, we need to start looking at like family time, personal time as the priority.
Yeah.
And then work is the means to having that, right? I
Yes.
mean, am I
Mhm.
wrong
Yes.
or?
That's a good point,
We
Neil.
No,
work to live.
we've
We don't live for
separated our
work.
personal lives
Yes,
from our
Rob.
workplace.
Yeah.
And this is the headache from some of the older generations, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
our great grandparents had to be at war. They didn't
Yeah.
get to
Mm-hmm.
choose to live their
Mm-hmm.
dreams, right? Like they had to you just suck it
Had no
up, and
choice.
there's not a lot of emotional regulation, not a lot of compassion. And so we kind of learn these beliefs that are so outdated. And because we believe them, we've sort of created this work environment where work is over here in this little box, and it may or may not be do something that we like, and our personal time is separate. And then we take time out of the year to go on a vacation, which is usually time away from work. But some
Yeah.
people that I know are miserable the majority of the year, but don't want to let go of
Mm-hmm.
the 4, 5, 6 weeks vacation. And I'm
Yep.
like, well, you're miserable most of the year. What's
Mm-hmm.
right? So to me, it doesn't compute.
Right.
And so
Quality
True.
of
I
life.
think right now with COVID, it's a good time to reimagine,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because of great resignation, and I'm sorry, but AI with AI and the has anybody been to the Home Depot lately or the Lowe's?
I've been
It's
to Home
Oh, I
Depot
have.
recently. Yeah,
Home
but,
Depot.
primarily
Yeah.
machines.
yeah, that's right. They
There's
don't even
barely
have.
any people.
Yeah, they don't even have
You
cashiers
don't even have
anymore.
people.
Yeah.
Right.
No
And
more.
so on
Right.
the one hand, you could say, we're going to lose our jobs. Or you could say, okay, now we're open to reimagine what we really want to do and how we really want to do it.
Yeah,
Yes.
How
reimagine.
to live our dreams and allow the AI to do all the things we don't want to do and really tap into our joy and our passions and allow
Yeah.
ourselves to really live from that place and create workspaces
Mm-hmm.
that really reflect that. But so one of the things I discovered, which was, not that I want to give the punchline, but it's basically that it was like, in order for me to change how my relationship with work was in the workplaces I was attracting and so on, I had to change myself.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Yep.
really had to change myself
Absolutely.
and how I
Yeah.
align to things and not reacting out of fear. And so that was really the journey I underwent.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I've
it
got to
was
read.
quite a
I've got to read your
so
book.
we also offer
I've got to
I
read that book because
know.
I mean that was something that's real valuable.
Yes.
We're really short on time. We're out of time. But Gianni, you haven't gotten a chance to ask a question, so I really want you to get in there, ask a question. I know you had some
Yes.
important stuff to ask.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask, with the ongoing pandemic, you did mention it a little bit, but it caused an increase in all of this anxiety and stress amongst people. How do you believe practices like self-compassion and mindfulness can help people during these times?
Great question.
Yeah. That's a great question. I think compassion is so important for us to keep going. So the reason why we're so afraid with what's happening right now is because our talk is negative. It's very fear-based because we live in a fear-based society, right? If you look at, but the society is a reflection of us, right? And so
Yeah.
all of this negative messaging, all of this fear are things we give our energy and attention to. We spent a lot of our time on our fears rather than using that same energy and attention on what we want to create. One of the things I talk
Sure.
in the book, and I've heard other people say this, is that energy is currency. And if you actually want to know, like, and it comes from attention. What you place your attention on is where you place your
Yep.
energy, as Dr. Joe says, right? And
Yeah.
that's what you feed. So that's why if you look right now at the marketing companies, what are they buying?
Mm.
Your time, your
Mm.
attention,
Mm.
right? All those ads, all those things because they understand that your attention and your energy matters. And so we spend a lot of our time focusing on the things we fear rather than using that to focus on the things we want to create.
I love
And
that.
so
True.
now is the
Yeah.
time, though it seems like a time of upheaval, it is the
Yeah.
perfect time to really start to say, but in how self-love and self-compassion come in is not using that critical voice when we don't get it right. It's a journey, right?
Yes.
There's many times when I don't get
Okay.
things right. And so if I
Right.
treat myself with harshness during those moments, I will not keep moving forward. For far
Right.
too long,
Right.
we have criticized ourselves into action.
That's true.
It really is about
Yeah.
treating ourselves with kindness. And people don't think that compassion is a great motivator. It is, because
It
it
is.
keeps you in the game
Hmm.
when you want to
Thank
give
you.
up.
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. All right.
That's
I
true.
love
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We are out of time, but make sure you grab her book,
Yes.
Rethinking
Yes.
Work, right? And then,
Reimagining.
Reimagining Work. I love that. Reimagining Work. And if you could, just tell people where they can find you and any final thoughts that you have. Appreciate it.
It's people can find me at www.maitricentre.com. So it's maitricentre.com. And I'm also on various social media. I'm primarily on TikTok, although I do have a Instagram account. I'm on TikTok and Clapper, and so yeah. And I just want to say thank you. This has been such an amazing conversation. You guys are so joyful, and that really is really exciting.
Thank you. We enjoyed having you.
I'm
Thank you.
very, very grateful that you.
Reimagining Work. Grab her
Gisele.
book. Make sure you check out her website. It's in our
I'll be
description.
reading it.
So make sure. Gissele, thanks again for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Gissele.
All right, thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.